You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I'm joined by Brad Hunt. And today's podcast is with Ryan and Hillary Lampers. We recorded this at the very end of the month of June, after Ryan and Hillary, after backbreaking work, had finished their 3 summit elk or Western hunting summit weekends. And we sit down and we just have a great conversation. We talk about the summit, what it's like for them to put it on, what it means. It's a great discussion. Really enjoyed it. As always, Ryan and Hillary are just good people. And if you want to support them, use the code GRITTY at Stealthy Hunter. Get yourself a rifle cover, a glassing pad, or get these sweet CBD gummies, sleep support. These are not melatonin based. I have a little close up here in the image here. You can see I've been using these to get a good night's sleep. I love them. I like the roll-on CBD intense relief gel.
Ryan's E-Charge.
The E-Charge. Mix that with some, I know they're not, with some Mountain Ops Citrus Bliss Ignite, or one of the new flavors. I love what they've got over there. The krill oil, the immune probiotic. Those are 2 big ones I use all the time. The list goes on. Go over to Stealthy Nutrition and use the code GRITTY over there. It helps everybody out. Helps them out. Helps us out. And use the code GRITTY over at Peaks Equipment. The trekking poles, can't say enough about the Elite Trekkers. You got a carbon fiber upper, aluminum lower. They're an excellent product. Same with the headlamp, the Backcountry Duo headlamp. You got the red light, white light, long beam, intensely long-lasting battery at high levels of light. Rechargeable. Everything we kind of wanted in a backcountry hunting headlamp, especially in grizzly country, where you have a strong beam for extended periods and you could recharge it. Speaking of chargers, the code GRITTY over at Dark Energy, you can get yourself a Dark Energy Poseidon. I still have my original chargers of these from 2014, 2015. And these things are just amazingly durable.
And they not only have in the field charging, but they also have like in your home charging.
And we use this to recharge our stereo pins, to recharge our phones, to recharge for our map systems, to recharge
InReach,
our
everything.
Headlamps, InReach, all the things. So big favorite product of ours is this
camera batteries, like everything.
And also digital maps. Right now, if you use the code GRITTY over at Go Hunt, that you can get their Explorer membership, which has which provides you with digital maps and digital map system. And the digital maps have some features that are really unique to what Go Hunt has put out. Nobody else has those, including the satellite imagery, which is far beyond what everyone else has.
The range finding tool,
the data you can download, and all 50 states being included, being able to share stuff with your friends, routes, not just sharing other just waypoints and such. So very cool tool, very cool. Use the code GRITTY over there and you can save. And right now we should have films out from we did a collaboration film with Go Hunt where myself, Pedro Puero,
Brady
Miller, and Lampers and I, we go out and we hunt black bears in the Rocky Mountains, and Pedro comes all the way from Spain, and it's a fun series. Should be out on the YouTubes, on the Go Hunt platform or on the Gritty platform. You'll have to just go and poke around. You'll find it, and it's good stuff. I think you're going to enjoy it. And then we're dropping films every Sunday right now. For the past few weeks, we have a few more weeks to go. So check those out on our channel. And without further ado, let's jump into this episode. Hope you enjoy it. Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video. It all helps us keep doing what we love to do. And thanks for tuning in, and stay gritty. All right, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call. And I suppose this is also a stealthy podcast, a Hunt Harvest Health podcast, as we are gathered here today with my dear friends, Ryan Lampers and Hillary Lampers. Hillary and Ryan Lampers.
Here we are.
And
alive and well.
Yeah, it's the
Barely
end of
alive.
It's the end of a 3-week labor of love.
Yes.
You just finished the last Western Hunting Summit for this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to talk about that a little bit. That's what the subject of this podcast is going to be. You know, we were just joking before we turned the microphones on. This isn't really, there's easier ways to make money. There's something else going on here.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I think that's something I want to dive into. I'm going to fix your microphone here.
Yeah.
Ryan. It's a little
I know.
It doesn't want to play nice.
Okay.
It's
there
my
it is.
Keeps rolling over.
I've
on
had
me
that
here.
thing since 2015. You've got an old one there. I thought it was on my head, but
Got it.
all right. So let's talk about this camp. What is the Western Hunting Summit? Put a definition on it.
Western Hunting Summit is 4 days for everyone. Of I'd say a little bit of education mixed with some entertainment, challenge, and fun.
Mountain time.
Mountain time.
Yeah.
A little bit of all those things. You know, as it's evolved, we've been doing this for quite a few years now. And every year it changes a little bit. We try to make it for the better. You know, in the beginning, it was like, let's cut this learning curve and just straight education, you know.
Yeah.
So we were doing a lot of chair time and presenters, and we still do that, but we also try to do more on the mountain. Like these last 3 events this year, we spent 2 days on the mountain, basically, doing things that we kind of do when we're actually hunting. We're camping on the mountain. We're getting to know each other a lot better on the long hike up, long hike down. So we ended up doing, about 14 miles or so with the group? Something like that.
I didn't hike 14 miles. I was
7
in the
miles
kitchen
each way, or-
slaving away
with a
every
lot
day.
of shots. So yeah, we've got a little bit of 3D shooting. We've got a lot of education from learning how to shoot a bow better to, you know, spot and stock mule deer hunting to elk calling. Each summit has kind of its own unique aspects to it.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's what it's evolved into, and somehow we find ourselves on this amazing ranch, 22,000 acre ranch, where we have freedom to stomp up the mountain wherever we want, spend time on the mountain, no regulations with the state telling me yay or nay on camping.
Yeah.
It's great. And yeah, we saw some great bucks. Took a group out yesterday morning early, and gosh, we grabbed 11 different bucks that morning, 2 studs. And then came back, the guys that didn't want to get up that early, you know, hanging out by the fire and drinking coffee and grabbing breakfast. So that's kind of what it's evolved into. Education, classroom time, and just a great overall community of people. Because one thing that really surprised us when we started doing this is how many dang folks repeat and come back. Never in a million years did we think we'd get that many folks coming back. And this year, gosh, for the Mule Deer Summit, I feel like there was a dozen different gentlemen out there that had been there before.
Yeah.
Whether once or 3 or 4 times. And then the last event, 9 folks came back. And then this most recent event, a lot of familiar faces. And this most recent one, it was familiar faces, but with their kids this time.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
And you saw today at the end, I asked everybody, like, who wants to come back next year? Everybody raised their hand today. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It was like, everybody's like, we're coming back. And, you know, it's really exciting on the last day because it's kind of like a big Kumbaya Love Fest, and everybody's just super excited for the weekend they've had, and they've learned so much. And not just learning, but like being in the presence of so many really amazing people. And when I say that, I don't say like me and Ryan. I mean, like, everybody that comes to these is like a stellar human being.
Yeah.
And you just come to that. I think community becomes kind of the key word of the entire event. And I do one talk at these summits on health. I don't talk about much else, but and this, after having done 2 weekends before this and having this be the 3rd weekend, I thought, what am I going to talk about? You know, because I kind of talk off the cuff. I don't really ever have a plan. And I kind of scope out the group that we have, because each group is very different. And this weekend, it was like, what am I going to talk about? And it really just came to me of what I've gained through the years of doing this and just the last 2 summits. It's like, what is a really important aspect in somebody's health? And I've come to realize that a really important aspect is community. And that's what people are missing. And whether it's through your church, a neighborhood, an event like this, is that if you have community and you have people in your life that can back you up and that, have the same likeness as you, and they respect the same things, and they have maybe the same ethics and moral values that you have, that actually makes you healthier, because it gives you some peace of mind. And so I think I've been really encouraged by that word, especially this year. These all-inclusive events are crazy to put on, and they're like
the food alone.
So that's my job. So I unfortunately do not get the great job of hiking people up the mountain, staying on the camping in. I'm like either driving a side-by-side up and down, taking food, drinks, passing out sandwiches, picking up people that can't walk, getting, or bringing people off the mountain that can't stay there. And I'm working with my staff in the kitchen.
But it was like a well-oiled machine.
Well,
you guys really nailed it. I'm
glad
people.
It looks like that.
Well, from the outside, I'm just enjoying the shoot, which I will say this. People pay a lot of good money to go to a Total Archery Challenge event, or like the Northwest Mountain Challenge, or some of these events, which are great. But this course that you put together, Lampers, is on par with any shoot that I've done at a Total Archery Challenge. It pushes you, it challenges you. It brought to light a lot of problems I have in my game right now that I need to iron out. And that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
To prepare people.
And I heard that from a lot of the, like you, the better shooters even. You have to kind of like toe the line. Like, is it for just kids or middle of the road guys that are just somewhat started, and then guys that can shoot really well? And everybody got challenged with this one, which is always the the hope that we do it that way. And yeah, it's got realistic shots, with the angles and the threading the needle type shots, and tiptoe over, looking over grass type shots, and try to make it as realistic as possible. Different ranges. We had weather, we had wind, we had rain at times.
Like hurricane,
a couple weeks ago,
monsoons,
and it really tests
heat.
your process.
Yeah.
If you can hit each of these targets, you're among the top, and you are ready for. You should be able to really capitalize on a archery hunt. You really. Most guys that get out there and get after it, they're going to get in those ranges and those type of opportunities. If you can capitalize on that opportunity when it comes, you might get one. But if you're that guy who's making it on all of these, you're gonna. It's just such a confidence booster. You're gonna do it in the wilds.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun. It's interesting being down at the house. This is where we would eat meals, cooking, and my team was cooking and stuff. And you guys would leave and stay the night up there and come back the next day. And it was just really interesting to see everybody on the night after they've hiked these 2 days. They've shot all these shots, and everybody just has a real glow about them. Everybody's really tired, or you got soaked, or you got sunburned, or whatever. You got Ishmael. Like, I couldn't even see off those targets. I'm too short. I don't know who set up those targets, But everybody was like glowing and just looked relaxed. That's another thing. Yeah. I see it in myself, being in the world and your job and your stress and all that. And you come out here and it's like, it takes a day or so. It takes 2 days for some people. But by that third day, it's like everybody's worked hard. They've been in groups. They've gotten to know people in their group. There's been a lot of, like I said, Kumbaya Love Fest going on. Everybody really supporting each other. And just everybody's kind of glowing and relaxed, and nobody's on their phone. We don't have any internet service. So it just
what I've noticed, like the shared suffering thing, it's so cliche, right? So cliche. We say it all the time. But we picked it up when we did Train to Hunt. When you got a big group of people, like-minded people, and you're doing these hard things, in the end, it can suck.
You
like
bond.
Sometimes on the course, you're like,
is there oxytocin or something being released here?
All this oxytocin for bonding.
Yeah,
we're all
something
bonding
to it, because everybody's tired and, like you said, sunburned, and they're just fatigued. And yet they still got to make those shots.
Everybody comes down
has
with
to
a
toe the
smile
line.
on their face. Like even Paley, and she brought a friend, and they were in the last group on that first weekend. And you guys were on the ridge up there when Reese even told me I was driving up there, and Reese said, "This is where the rainstorm hit us." We were right here.
I was soaked to the bone.
And, you know, even the kids, they didn't complain.
Yeah.
That weekend, the people that were not used to that, they got up there. I mean, I was driving up, making sure people were okay. I mean, people were drenched, and everyone was like, "We're fine."
Yeah,
Hi,"
yeah.
You know, and I thought, it's just, nobody wants to bag out either.
Yeah.
And if you have to bag out, you know, we had a kid yesterday who hiked almost the whole thing, but he came from like sea level and straight, and was hiking up 6,000 feet, and he was tired. And he didn't want to get in the vehicle. His dad was like, "You need to go," because he was probably having a little altitude sickness.
He was bummed that he...
And he was like, "I don't want to go." And we were all like, "You just hiked like for 6 miles or something in the heat, in this altitude. You have done amazing." Everybody in the group was just giving him encouragement. And he was like, "Okay, I'll get in."
Yeah.
And he got in, and we got to camp, and I gave him some jobs to do, let him relax a little bit, gave him a job to do. So he felt, and he was fine.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, everybody in the community was being so supportive of him. All the other kids were super supportive of each other by the end of the weekend.
Well, let's say we had some older gentlemen at this.
We
latest
did,
event.
and
We
they're
had some
stubborn
flat-
too.
Inspiring.
grandfathers
yeah.
bringing their grandsons
Yeah.
out, wanting them to get more into this lifestyle, the hunting thing. And, I mean, let alone the kids were like super impressive. Like just how they shot, how they stuck with it, how they shot from the beginning to where they shot yesterday at the end.
Yeah.
These kids were like whole new shooters by the end of it, right? Working with Joel, working all 40 targets. Yeah, and he's 75-year-old
Right.
gentleman, Marvin,
Right.
72 years old, and Arnold. And they stomped that whole thing out.
I was impressed.
Marvin would not get in. He was like, "I'm walking this, and I'm doing it at my own pace." I said,
Yeah.
"Okay." And then that last time I went by him, I said, "This is your last chance, Marvin." He said, "Nope, I'm good," and he did it. And
yeah.
it's like, "Hey, okay, you know, he's a grown man. You can do it.
I love it.
Go for it."
This, you know, when we were up there last night on the mountain, and we all came in from the shoot, made it to our destination, set up our teepees, got a fire going. And, you know, the whole camp gathers around the fire. There's a little bit of s'mores. The kids are diving in to the chocolate and the
Oh
marshmallows.
my gosh,
I
And
never saw any of those.
I didn't either.
Oh, they were there.
Gone.
I think
Damn.
Cal was eating like fist loads of graham crackers. And we got to visit with new and old friends. And you hang out there after the whole thing's over. And then you have a movie night up there on the mountain. Like, that's
How cool is that?
it
was
has
different.
a feel like an ambiance, right? Like, because when we hike into remote places, you don't feel like you could watch a movie out there on a big screen, but you've managed it.
I get a lot of people like loving that part. Like we got to watch a video that they hadn't seen before on the mountain. Somehow, some way we managed this projection thing that worked out perfect. Fortunately, we didn't have like gale force winds or anything
Right.
like that. It could have changed it, but worked out great. I think that was a pretty cool night.
I think it's great. And the next morning, got up real early, and I got to sit down with Brian Barney and Sam Davis and have a podcast in the wee hours in the early morning, quiet, still. And we just got deep into hunting and lives and stuff. And I want to say, like, the people you've brought along as speakers and presenters, you've gathered quite a group of experienced people to come and present some of the best in this space as far as especially teaching, but some are just hyper accomplished hunters.
Yeah.
But they're also good men, good women, just
100%.
cool people. And so tell me about the presenters. Go through the list.
Sure. So we've got our core who've been with us from the beginning. Between me and Hill and Mark and Amy Livisays, they've been with us through the start. Can't say enough good things about those two and that family overall. We've got Corey Tinglestad and his wife Kim. Huge help. He's our backcountry medical guy. He goes through all the discussions. Love hearing his education when it comes to that. Super valuable. He's a hunter. He's an ER doctor. He's got a lot of experience, so it's always good. I always had Corey in my shooting group for some reason, which was great. In case something happened.
The two introverts who don't like to hang out with people in the
We
last
kinda
group. It's a
followed up
bad
the
mix.
end. In case there's somebody snake bit or something.
Right.
Get them off the hill. But, and then just throughout all the summits, gosh, there's so many
Brian
guys.
Barney.
I hope I don't forget any of them. But yeah, of course, Barney has been to every single one.
Yep.
You can't say enough good things about Barney as far as him as a hunter, him as a speaker. I wish I had those skills.
Yeah.
Educator, hard worker, Mr. Positivity.
Positive, yeah.
He's like Charlie Hustle, man. The guy's just like, how do you not like Barney? And then, gosh, who did we have for Mule Deer this year? We had
Travis
Nowotny, Brady Miller,
Tony
Robbie
Treach.
Denning, Tony Treach. It was a stacked lineup for Mule Deer. It was really cool to get all those guys together. Dave Baronio was at that one of our favorite people in the world.
Yeah. Another
Guy who's always positive. You can't walk away from Dave not smiling and feeling better about yourself.
I know.
He just makes you feel better. And then going back to elk, we had the Phelps guys. We had Cody Wilson, who's been with us a couple times. Jason Phelps was at this one. Joel Turner is at all events. Can't forget Joel. The guy is a wizard with his educating, how he teaches these kids and all of us to shoot better.
Yeah, he's taken some people like Dave Brinker who thought they just had to hang up the bow for life,
right,
and brought them back from the brink and
right.
And now they're shooting bows again without target panic and just in control.
Yeah,
and
it's unreal what he brings to it.
Yeah.
Now he's educating and then he's fishing. Like you got to try to keep Joel
and
off
he's
the
like
river.
bathing in the river. Like I look out the
taking
window
cold
and Joel's
plunges.
walking around in his shorts.
so
in
is
the
Mike
morning, and
Mutzel.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of cold plunging going on with this group.
Yeah.
And then who else? This most recent one, a new addition, was Sam Davis. I'd reached out to Sam because I've followed what he's done, and I'm so impressed with how the man hunts, his accomplishments. He's significantly younger than us.
He's
10 years.
37.
He looks like he's
He looks like he's
25, and
20.
yet he's 37.
Yeah.
A mountain of a man right there. But
Yeah.
he's
like
Him
Thor.
and Dave Baronio next to each other. They like.
my wife was not hating having some of these men in camp to look at.
Well, you know what's amazing about having a good-looking man that's also a stellar human being.
Yeah.
Like it's just a awesome mix. Now, but I was thinking about Dave and Sam and Barney. Like when Ryan talks about positivity.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody here has been positive. We don't want to say nobody is not positive. Everybody is. But there's a level of positivity in some people. Like, I don't have that level of
Exuberance.
positivity. It's probably like you, too. You have that exuberance. I don't really have that exuberance. I'm probably more on the, like, pessimistic side most of the time. But, like, if you got Baronio, Sam Davis, and Brian Barney in a room together, you will be gushing with love and positivity, like nonstop. Not only because they look great, but because, I mean, they are just...
Phelps is kind of like that too, huh?
Yeah,
Like,
they're just so, like, you just feel so happy when they talk.
Yeah.
And, Sam has not been to one. I think Sam felt, so he talked around the fire the other night.
Yeah.
And...
That was great. I love.
And he was like, at the end, he was trying not to cry because he loves bow hunting so much. And then he started crying, and it was like, I think he feels like he didn't deserve to be up there. I think he came in like, oh my God, Ryan Lampers called me. Ryan Lampers wants me to talk. Ryan Lampers, he's looking up to Ryan, like Ryan's a god. And then you hear Sam talk about his hunting career, and I'm like, he's like got a parallel life to
Right,
Ryan.
right.
He's just younger than us, but he's put his time in. He's a family man. He just loves his wife. He's very extroverted like you are. And he loves his daughter, and he's so positive. And, to see a man like that up there crying about, how he loves this lifestyle.
Well, that was just like, I had several guys after Sam's discussion, like they'd be walking by and like, passionate. That was the word that they just kept saying.
Yeah.
You can just tell when he talked that he just absolutely, with every fiber of his
Authenticity
being, he loves how hard he's worked, has gotten him to this point. And obviously you can see it through all the success that he's had. I mean, the man crushes it.
We talked about that. He and Brian Barney, and we talked about family too, because what struck us all was there's a lot of people here, a lot of talented guys that come up here and have accomplished a lot in the mountains. But it's more than that. They're accomplished at home in their entrepreneurship or their job or their career path. Their families are successful as well. Nobody's perfect, but they're all striving in a certain way. And they are successful across many domains. They're not just successful in one part. Right. They're not just a good hunter. They're a lot of other things. And Brian Barney brought up the point, and Sam seconded it. Like, that's true, but, you know, part of it was, you know, when you strive to become a good hunter, often that makes you a better man because you're willing to have patience, wait for that right opportunity, delay gratification, suffer, grind, even though it's difficult. All those things that you do to be successful there, all the preparation, the hard work, the practice, the honing of your skills there, those are the same things that you do in your business and in your family. You figure out what works, you grind, you delay gratification, you do all the same things. So as you become a better hunter, you become a better man. And then we all kind of agreed with what you've said and what Amy said about men need adventure. They need challenge. They need hardship. They need to go out and have a little danger in their lives. And it's something we need. And when men come back from those trips, not saying women don't either, but sometimes it's a little different. Men in general, that's like something we crave. And by doing the hunting thing,
I think it comes down, another thing, and I talked about this in my talk this weekend, is like, you know, community obviously for health, but men in general, just like you said, you know, they need that outlet. I also think it comes down to respect. And what I notice in this community is that, and you can call it a stereotype or whatever you want to call it, but the women in this community have so much respect for their husbands. Like, you just watch them. They're not yelling at their husband. Like, there's none of that. And you never see a husband disrespecting a wife. Like, there's this mutual respect that is really unique, I feel like, in today's world. Like, and it's okay. Like, this community, like, the women want their men to be men, and they respect that. And the men, like, are so respectful of their women. Like, they talk nice about him. They even say things like, my wife's so sexy. Like, you know, and those are good things because it means, like, you're noticing your wife, you're respecting her. It's just, and that's something I've had to come to learn in this, in the world in general. It's usually you don't see that. Yeah. And there's something about men's health where if a man is not respected in his own home and he's not respected by his wife, which, I mean, Ryan and I went through this for a long time.
I had the Livasays on. I got some stories.
Oh, yeah. They got even crazier stories than us. We look like Mormons compared to them. Mormons. Sorry, Ryan. Yeah, no. You know, but like, I think that, I just think it's so enduring and men need respect. And I see that because I talk to all these men. You know, a majority of the people that come to the Western Hunting Summit are men, but we're getting more and more women. We got lots of wives that came this year. It was great to see the family intermingling. And a lot of the couples that come, they're just so, like, solid.
Yeah.
And they're just calm. There's no fighting. And what you see is a growth. Like, I just want to share this quick story about the Elk Summit and Taylor and Matt. And we're going to have them on our podcast soon. But Taylor and Matt got married last year, but they've been together a really long time. And we had no idea about Matt's story. Matt's come every year or last 3 years? Every year, I think, or at least 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
He comes from North Carolina, drives up here, comes to the summit, and he brought his wife this year. And they came, they did that elk crazy hike, Ryan, that people do on the first day of 2000.
These poor guys. Just so they know, things got a lot easier the following 2 weekends. You elk
guys and gals got the worst of it. And so Taylor came from sea level. She'd been training for this, but nobody can train at sea level for something like this. fly in, and she got some muscle cramping because her electrolyte imbalance got off. And so luckily I'm up there. Dr. Corey's up there. It's great having an ER doc on your staff because he's just like asking simple questions, making sure it's nothing life-threatening. And okay, we need to get her down out of elevation, get her in a bath, whatever. She felt so bad, like she felt so bad that she screwed up this thing, and like her husband, we needed him to come down with her because someone had to sleep with her just to make sure she was good through the night. And he came down and he was fine.
Yeah.
And like, he was so supportive of her. She felt really bad about it, but then she started telling us the story, and then she showed me a picture of them like in 2018 or something. And we were like, what? Like, oh my gosh, I would have never recognized them. So he's lost over 100 pounds. She's lost 70 pounds. And it's because he started watching your guys' films. And he was like, all right, I'm done. And he was basically sick in the hospital with a condition that was going to kill him if he didn't take care of himself. And so he started watching your guys' films. He started exercising. He started changing his life. He lost a bunch of weight. And now he's the dude that walks in the room and people are like, my cousin was here by marriage. He was here and he's like, I ran into that jacked up dude, at Stone Glacier. And I was like, who? And he's like, I don't know. He said he was coming here. It was like, he's got those jacked up arms.
Guy.
I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, it was Matt.
I wouldn't have guessed that history, having met him initially and hanging out. And it wasn't until we were on the hike and we started talking. He started telling me the story and the story about his wife. And I, it's just mad respect for people who are on that journey, made a change and moved their lives in such a positive way from where they were. They made a decision and then they did it.
Yep.
And to have someone like Taylor came to us the last day and she just took Ryan and I aside and she just said, this has changed our lives. He is changed. And she's like, she was crying. I was crying. She's like, just so keep doing this. Don't stop doing this because you are changing lives. And it's just those kinds of things.
The whole thing, though, is so antithetical to Ryan's normal nature in terms of welcoming a whole bunch of people into a community that he's kind of leading in a way. And it's like,
for sure.
That's so not your mode of being.
But I think it's
not.
It's just that the world, if he were left to his own devices.
If he was the leader of a Native American tribe.
But you see how I've carved this out, Brian? Because, look, you don't see me up on stage very often. That's why I bring in these great educators. But what I do really enjoy is the one-on-one time, and that's why we have the itinerary we have.
Yeah.
I'm able to grab a small group, very small group, where it's comfortable for me. And I can talk and hang out with them, share camp life where I'm much more comfortable up there than in a classroom or in front of people. So it's kind of why it's evolved the way it has. And I love to push folks to uncomfortable.
Yes, you do.
Physical abilities.
Yeah, and everybody, at least every summit gets a dose of that, and we end up having to,
we adjust, we go by braille.
And every year I tell people, okay, this year, folks, here's the rules. If you can't do this, you need to tell us, But I mean, I think just it's amazing for me to see the respect, the admiration, the love, the commonality of thought, and there's just none of the crap that's going on in the world right now is here.
Yeah.
And if you don't turn your phone on here, we don't have service here. It's 4 days of people interested in each other. Mm-hmm. And it's just life-changing for us.
Well,
so that's why we do it.
for people to do it. It's 4 days.
A huge
lot
commitment.
of people travel from all over the country to come here. And even by the last day, after we feel like we've pushed them maybe even a little bit too hard, for the first two events, I did a 4 a.m. hike. Mm-hmm. Meet me at 4 a.m. On the deck, and whoever's there, we're going to stomp up the hill. And we're going to grab this peak that's just 900 feet up here. And we do that, and we get to the peak, and we're like, well, that was easy. It took us a little bit of sweat, but how about we go grab another 5 miles before breakfast? So we did it twice. And at the first event, I think we had 16 people showed up at 4 a.m. with me and Barney, and we stomped up that hill. We got the sunrise, and we got 6.5 miles in before we started breakfast that morning. And we did it again on the next summit. Now we took it easy on them this morning. We had a little different agenda with some rifle shooting, but it just goes to show you, like, even on that last day, after these guys have been through the ringers, like they've been pushed, and they're still willing to do that, lose a little sleep and push themselves on Sunday morning before they take off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a fun. It's like weird. It's bittersweet for us because, I mean, as you can imagine, Ryan's barely slept, and I feel I had got a head cold last weekend, and that kind of trashed me for a little bit. But I mean, we are kind of sad when it's over,
Right.
because it's like,
Well,
everybody's leaving, and we don't want everybody to go.
you've developed bonds and relationships. One of the questions I've got for you is, when you guys started this, you came up with this idea. You know, what was the motivator? What sort of made you take the steps? And then now, fast forward all these years later, looking in hindsight, what you envisioned it to be and what it actually is, how is that different? Because,
I mean, when we started this, like, Hill and I talked, and we've told this story many times with Train to Hunt and the community we got, the relationships we built through that shared suffering with that group. And, you know, Train to Hunt kind of went away, and we wanted to do our own thing like that, where we still built these great relationships with people and grew this community. You know, I think this hunting thing that we do, like Hill talked about, it builds good humans. Like, people in this space they're just better. I'll say it. They're just better. They're just better people.
Just say it, babe.
No,
Just say
but
what
just
you
better
think.
people. And so we have all these folks that are trying to be even better, with great families, and they're pushing themselves and they're doing these hard things. And in the end, we have a much bigger, better community overall in the hunting space. And I don't know how many different people we've had come through this thing at this point. It's been a lot.
Hundreds, yeah.
Yep, it's been a lot. And most folks walk away with just more inspiration, more drive, more motivation to go crush this thing.
yeah, we
that
were
we're
just
doing.
saying goodbye,
Yeah.
and we're having some conversations with some of the people who were here this weekend as they were leaving, and they said, some older dudes our age, they're like, look, I watch your films for motivation, because when I see you old men
That's what he said. Yeah.
do these things and I'm your age, I realize I have a lot. Life's not over for me either. Like, I can still have adventures. I gotta work. I gotta sacrifice. And I find the same thing. Like, when I watch someone who's a gifted hunter, when I watch someone who's a gifted athlete, often I'm not watching them anymore to get knowledge as much as I'm watching them to inspire me to get off my duff and work a little harder and push a little more.
Right.
And competition is so good because I like winning. And you get here and you're here with a few other guys and they outperform you, like on the archery course. And it's like, you go home and it's like, next year I want to spank that guy, and I want to beat this one and this one, you know. And so it's like they shot a
It's a good visual.
They shot. Hillary would go there. You shoot
I'm a doctor.
you shoot a mule deer, and it's like, I wonder if I can shoot a older, more awesome deer than that guy next year. There's an element of competition which I think is good among your friends and your buddies.
Too, it's a male thing. You know, you guys have that sort of built within you as that competitive. Whereas, like,
but it's not a negative competition.
No,
you need it.
Competition
It's
just makes you better.
It's
period.
healthy. It
just
pushes
does.
you. It's like a goal. You know, you have a goal. That competition of, okay, I got to beat this person next year. It's a goal.
Yeah.
And it creates that goal. You know, women are a little different. We're definitely competitive in, I think, a worse way. You know, we see that. We have girls. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, girls are just mean to each other. They're so competitive. But we were really lucky this weekend. You know, you brought your daughters. We had our daughters. We had a friend of mine from med school brought his daughter that was Paley's age. And these girls took them about 24 hours to start warming up to each other. But now we can't separate them. Now they're like watching movies together, want to sleep in the same tents together. They're driving around together. They're like bonding, and it's just so cool to see that, because it's hard to find good friends these days.
It means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We like absolutely, love the fact that we can trust everybody that comes to these, and we consider people here family. And when we can see our children bonding with other people's children in a healthy way, where the outside world is not putting the influence of all the BS on them, that right there is like by far the number one reason that we're doing this, because we're all trying to raise better humans. And unfortunately, in today's world, the crap kids are exposed to, it's hard for them.
Right.
And they are constantly compounded. So to see these respectful young men and women come in here, shake your hand, look you in the eye, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, thank you. Every single one of those kids came up to me today. I didn't do anything. I just cooked them food and hung out with them and talked to them.
They were all so appreciative.
Thank
like
you.
she said, shaking hands. Like, these are littles to 15-year-olds, you
Right.
know. And
These are not the ages usually where you see that kind of respect. Yeah. And I just put that to their parents. All the guys that brought their kids this weekend, these are stellar parents. And that's what we want to do. And it's hard being a parent. It's hard having children that aren't influenced by the world.
It's hard being a kid.
It is.
Especially a young girl developing, growing into themselves, emotions, all this kind of stuff. And it's there's nothing that makes me happier than to see my girls go out and meet new people, experience people, do some things that are hard, a little bit hard. It wasn't that tough.
Wound care
but
with
enough.
chickens. That was fun to watch.
That was fun.
To see them laughing and doing things that were in the real world and not in a digital space.
My most favorite time of this whole thing is when I look out at dinner and everyone's on the deck. Everyone's in their little cliques, because the girls are there, the teenage boys. Yeah. And what's nice though, it's not cliquey in a competitive way. It's like everybody just finds a place to sit and everybody's laughing. Everybody's talking to each other. No phones are out. No selfies going on. Everybody is engaged with each other. And that is my favorite part. You
really do get to have some one-on-one conversations here and there with people, and you're just blown away by their story or their knowledge base. Yeah. Like, I sit here and I'm like, I have some experience, but I met a few guys this weekend. I'm like, you have some life experience that's incredible. Like, you're the sort of person I want to interview on a podcast, and you are one of the guests, not a speaker. And you run across the whole summit. When you guys got this thing running, right, and you talked about community, you want to build community. It's sort of like the train to hunt. You recognize the value in that. Jump ahead. Here we are today. What is the part of this thing that has surprised you the most?
Oh, that has surprised us the most.
You just didn't see coming.
I gotta say, people coming back. It's like, I never expected.
You're like, they're gonna get one taste of me and then they're gone forever.
Well, I figured we'd
they
make it hard enough.
They gotta come back to get anything out of Ryan.
They wouldn't want to come back.
Yeah.
But doesn't really matter what we throw at them. They tend to come back. So we have literally had people that have been to 4 or 5 events. Everyone. Couples that have done that, and they're coming back next year again. So.
It's just a testament.
That was never anything I expected, for sure. That was the biggest shocker for me.
What about you, Hillary?
I think the biggest shocker for me is just how amazingly open people are. Just the amount of people that pull us aside and tell us their story, how grateful people are. Just that to me is like, I'm not even that good. I'm not good at saying thank you to people. And I always, have you ever thought, I should write that person a letter?
Right.
They did what they did for me. It was so nice. And then I never do it because I'm too busy. And it's like just having people come up to you, tell you their story, say, thank you so much. You changed my life. Like Taylor telling us that story and how, that to me is like
meaningful.
It keeps reminding me that validation is so important for people. Like telling people they're important, what they're doing is important, that they have value in the world. And for Ryan and I, it's like, outside of this, we kind of have our lives like everyone else does.
Yeah.
And to have validation that what we're putting together is actually changing people's lives, like for me, like that's all I need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the no cell phone thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like
and
it's not often these days that you get
one.
groups of this size get together and you don't see the phone just constantly checking and having conversation and constantly doing stuff on it. You can't do that here.
Yeah.
It's like
you need that.
Everyone makes friends.
Well, I'm looking forward to next year. I'm excited to see what you're going to do the next time. You got plans, you're cooking them up, you're going to figure it out. Yep. But for folks that, in the meantime, that want to know a little bit more about the summits, are you going to post some content up, photos? You're going to put where can they go?
We got great content this year, which we've never been good at. A lot of good photos. Yeah, a lot of good video clips. There's going to be a lot coming from this year, this season. I think we nailed it with the folks we brought in. Brad was here, Brad's great. He was always walking around with the camera, grabbing cool stuff. And we got all the presentations filmed. And so, we're sending that out to everyone who attended so they can go back and pay attention.
And we're going to have an online subscription where you're going to have access to all the talks from the past because we have we have those documented.
I could sit and watch those for hours myself, listen to them while I'm doing
content.
A long drive, all that stuff.
But you can go to westernhuntingsummit.com and get on the email list. If you want to come to a future one, I would suggest getting
curious.
On there. Yeah, even if you're curious, because we don't send out a ton of emails. But when we launch the next one, which is going to be soon, actually, we like to sell it to people that are on the email list first. Well, we sell it to return attendees, and then we go to the email list because we might just sell it out that way. So get on the email list. That's probably the best way to get info. But we put stuff on the website.
The scary thing is, I feel like the next ones we may see only older repeat folks because we've built this base of community folks and.
That's what happens with
so.
Sean and the Total Archery Challenge. Ends up being people that were early adopters, end up getting the first chance at. And you want to reward those people, but some people just got the memo a little late, and you leave them out, and it's tough. You guys might have to find a way to scale this thing up a little bit.
So many hunting weekends, we could just have more summit weekends. But no, there's a very specific calendar of when we can do it.
Yeah, June is the month. I'm with Ryan on this. You're outvoted.
After you do 3 weekends, I'm with you.
You're with us too.
I'm with you too.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in. You can always check out the Hunt Harvest Health podcast, iTunes, Spotify, all those places. Yep. Stealthy Hunter. Get on there. His Instagram. And check out Stealthy Nutrition. CBD gummies, the krill oil, the turmeric. That's kind of Ryan's trifecta. What else you got in there?
Our electrolyte is going to be coming out in a packet.
Nice. We need that.
Fall.
That's way overdue. E-Charge.
E-Charge.
And then Stealthy Hunter rifle covers. And glassing pads.
Yep.
Saw a lot of those this weekend from guys showing up with their rifles.
Yeah. Cool. All of those things. Support the show if you like it. If you love what Hillary and Ryan are doing, support them. Go there, check that out. And use the code GRITTY because that helps Gritty out. And thank you.
Gritty.
Just huge thanks to everybody. And
thanks, Gritty.
We'll see you on the next one. Stay gritty, friends.